Hello, this is Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com, and today we're doing our shaky cam interior review inside a 2017 Audi Q7. This is their, I guess, mid-sized family crossover. It is a 3-row crossover, although the third row is mostly for kids. Very, very nice. They did a good job on this. Drives really, really well. Audi's sometimes hit and miss. Some of their vehicles seem a little cheap for having the Audi name, and some of them don't. This one definitely does not. Very well done. So just quickly over the interior, we'll start over here. I like the windows and the mirrors are here, and I like the layout here, but I really like this, which allows you to just turn the child locks on and off just like that, right? Just a great feature. I rarely see it. Occasionally, I've seen it on 2 or 3 European cars. That's about it. Down there, that releases the rear hatch, so it automatically opens and closes on this model. Up here, you have your lighting, so fairly self-explanatory. In foggy and rainy conditions and stuff, you can push this button and it lowers the beams a little so that they don't reflect back to the windshield. These are your, why am I having a hard time remembering the name for that? Fog lamps. There you go. And then you can see the lighting settings here. I usually have just been leaving it on auto. Over here is the dimmer to change the lighting itself. First vent is right there. Over here, seat memories and so forth, door locks and whatnot. Then let's see. I think we can just skip over. We'll look at the steering wheel really quick, and then we'll look at the instruments. So this over here controls what's up there. This over here is mostly about what's happening on the stereo and infotainment. Pretty straightforward stuff. I don't think you need to know much. Here you have steering heat, navigation, phone, and voice controls. Voice controls in this are pretty good. Audi, of course, is Volkswagen, so Volkswagen has done a pretty good job with their voice activation stuff. You'll find that also applies in this car. Over here, just the controls are pretty straightforward, very simple. Rolling up and down changes that, so you can see I can look at short-term memory, long-term memory for trip counting and stuff. Your energy consumption, I've had it on this a lot right here, and on this one right here. This is kind of the real-time fuel consumption thing. Short-term memory tells you for the trip that you've been on so far, and then this right here shows you how much you're using in in everything that's on. So right now the climate is off, so it doesn't show that. If I turn the climate on, it will show that that's on. Things like that just shows you what you're using and how much that equates to, give or take. Kind of useful if you're into that. Driver assistance stuff. Here you can monitor things like your adaptive cruise, things like that. And this vehicle reads traffic signs. I'll get into that in 1 minute. Kind of a cool feature that I've only seen on really maybe one other vehicle that does it as well as this does. So that's the steering wheel there. Up here you have your lighting controls. All of it straightforward, nothing to really tell you about it. Over here is washer wipers. So it does have, if I can get it up there, there you go, automatic wipers. So if I put it on that first spot, it's on auto. And then you can manually move it up to go low and high. And then you have settings here. So if you have it on auto, this also affects how aggressive the auto is. So I've turned it up pretty good because I like them to be aggressive. When you have it off, you can just push it down and you get one wipe. This runs the rear wipers. They're basically on or off. So, and then you can push it back to get the squirters, pull it forward to get squirters up front. I like this system. You get used to it really quickly. I like the way it's set up. Now, down here is your cruise control dongle. Unlike Mercedes and some other brands, this dongle is visible, so you can see it while you're sitting in the car and driving. You don't have to duck your head and move around. Pretty simple to use. You get up to the speed you want, you push this, it sets it. You can turn it all the way off by pushing it back and leaving it back, and that leaves the cruise control off. When it's in this position, it stays on, and when you pull it forward, it only taps forward. That resumes your previous speed. Here you set the distance for your following on your adaptive cruise. This is a little annoying because it doesn't remember what you did last time once you shut the engine off. So you have to set it every time, so you have to reach down and do that. That's a little bit annoying. But what I will note is something kind of cool that I wouldn't be able to show you unless I was driving, but I can explain it. Basically, the vehicle's cameras read street signs. So it can read speed limits. When you come upon a speed limit that's different than the speed you're driving, it will automatically change to that speed. The cruise control will automatically change to that speed unless you turn that off. There is a toggle to turn that off. It's in the driver settings. But it's a really kind of a cool feature. So if you're driving along on the freeway and you hit a construction zone, it reads the sign that says you're now down to 55 miles an hour. It slows you down to 55 miles an hour. And then when you get past that and it says 75 miles an hour, speeds back up to that. Very cool. I really kind of like that feature. Pretty neat. Good thinking, Audi. All right. So now we'll look at the instrument cluster, which is not going to be easy to do given that how wide it is. All right. So over there you have engine heat. Over here you have fuel. Now I'm going to move forward so I can be a little more steady. Over here, tachometer. Maybe. There we go. Over here, speed, and in the middle is your driver information. This is the upfitted screen, so it has the larger driver info area and stuff. Most everything else is pretty straightforward. Down here's your trip counter and so forth. You can reset the trip using that button over there. And the speed style changes according to what you have it set for on your drive select. So what you'll see are things like, let me shift into gear and see if it changes on its own. Not seeing it. So I think I have to be moving. This will get a red line down it that will tell you more or less the best speeds for the vehicle in whatever drive mode select you have. And this will go red according to where you are and what you're doing for acceleration and stuff. So if you're using power, it's red. If you're not using power, it's not. Kind of neat, but mostly those are visuals. I don't know that they're going to help anybody. This isn't exactly a track vehicle. But it's kind of cool, I guess. So that's basically it for the instrument cluster. Moving over, there's the infotainment screen. You can see I have the rear camera on. The infotainment screen sinks down into the dash when the car is off, so it's not visible, and it comes back up automatically when you start the car. Down here, some more vents. You can see they go all the way across, although they're not actually functional all the way across. This part right here is just for looks. Over here, this is your drive select. You have a handful of options here, but for the most part, you're either going to be in dynamic, which is sort of like sport mode, or comfort mode. Other than that, you're probably not going to be using this much. I personally have only used it a couple of times, and dynamic mode does change things. It does make the throttle much more responsive. The gearing is a little more aggressive, that sort of thing. But other than that, comfort mode is probably where it's at for most drivers most of the time. This turns off the engine automatic start-stop. So if you don't like it, you can turn it off there. Traction control, Duke's lights, parking sensors, hill descent control, and that lowers that screen and brings it back up. So if it's in your way for any reason, or if it's dark, or if at night it's too dark or something, and you really don't want that, then you don't want this screen up in your face, you can put it down using that button there. Over here, you can see I have my bun warmers on. There are also seat coolers, both sides. And then this has 4-way climate. So it has both front sides, so driver and passenger, rear seat and third seat climate in this. Up here, you see you have your kind of bourgeois cover over what in Europe would be a oh, it's not a lighter. I kind of expected to see one. Most European cars have them. In Europe, this would be an ashtray. Here, it's a catch-all tray. It's probably where you're going to throw your loose change. Touchpad and knob for the interface up there. The touchpad, mostly useless. I've found very little use for it. It is kind of nice for putting in some of the nav stuff. Other than that, I found it mostly to be useless. This is much easier to use on the drive. If you're sitting and doing nothing, yes, this is useful. But if you're driving, this is where it's at. And then these quick buttons here, which bounce around to things like radio and navigation. Here are your drink holders. They'll hold bigger drinks than they look like they'll hold. But still, if you're like a 7-Up Mega Gulp buyer, this isn't going to do you any good. And this does not come out. I tried to pull it out to make a bigger spot. Doesn't work. Shifter. Pretty standard Audi stuff. So you push the button and you move it back and forth to get your gear. Park by pushing that button there. Right here, this is a quick control for the radio. I like this a lot because it's right there at hand, easy to use. Push it up and down to mute and stuff. Back and forth for channel and selection and so forth, and spin it around for volume. Very cool. Parking brakes in this are automatic, but you can set them manually using this. And I believe you can turn off the automatic thing in the driver's section controls. This is kind of the useful catch-all. So this is where my phone has been going. You can put the key fob right here, and it will reset the security things, right? And so all your, this is rubberized. It's kind of a good spot for dumping things. These are the armrests. They move back and forth, and then it opens up to give you a little bitty box. It's not very deep, but there's also your USB plugs and your auxiliary plugs. So that's a good spot to leave your, MP3 player or something. Seating in here is very good. I like the way it feels. It's nice and comfortable, but not soft. It's very, very firm, very German. Good seats. I like this. I like this a lot. The sun's glaring in, but you can see the coloration that you've got in here. So you got this dark kind of mahogany look. You got this black right here, and then all of this shiny chrome everywhere. It's just really pretty. I like the way they did it. Soft touch almost everywhere. Pretty quiet interior, especially considering this has the panoramic sunroof, which is normally that adds to the noise level. I don't care who made the car. So very well done. Nice interior, very pretty. Back seats are a good size. Adults fit back there, no problems at all. Integrated sunshades and things. And then the third row, again, like I said, is mostly for the kids. But useful car. Used that third row a little bit. Used a few other things. Noticed some nuances like the blind spot management. That square you see right there on the side of the mirrors, what lights up to tell you that. Little things like that in this car just kind of add up. Make it a very good vehicle. Audi really brought their game with this one. So I'm hoping to see that proliferate because some of their other models could really use some help. And yeah, that's all I've got. That's the interior of the 2017 Audi Q7. This has been Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com. Talk to you again soon.